Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What's up, /x/? Longtime lurker on this board. Frequent poster on /b/. I like /x/ because there are actual people on here who are legit, even though they are rare compared to the flood of autistic questions and bullshit role-playing that goes on in here. I want to make this thread just so I can post some of the many paranormal activities that happen to me and my family. It is just a normal occurrence in my family, and we don't even think paranormal occurrences are strange anymore. Anyone on here with real experiences knows the feeling you get when something completely out of this world happens right before your eyes. It's a blessing and a curse, because when you experience something unexplainable, you feel lucky, but you also wish you could be like most people and be completely oblivious to this part of the universe. I'm typing this as I'm posting. I know /x/ is a slow board, so I don't expect any replies until later in the day. It's 6:30 a.m. and I cannot sleep, so I'm going to share some stories with you guys. I think most of you will believe me if you had something similar happen to you. I'm going to start with some family history and background, and most likely my earliest paranormal experiences. Remember, I'm typing this as I go, so bear with me. Feel free to post similar experiences or insights. I just want to vent because keeping things like this inside is frustrating. Some family background. My family is basically 100% Catholic. I'm the oldest out of 6 kids. We all attended private Catholic school. All of my siblings are still in school except for me. Even though we attend church occasionally, none of us are hardcore Catholics. I'd say we are all decent Catholics, help others in need, etc. My mom's mother, is married to her husband. He is not my mom's bio dad. Her dad died when she was around 15, I believe. Now my grandmom is the sweetest old woman you could ever meet. But it is a known fact in our family that she is a witch. She openly admits it, but doesn't get into it too much unless you ask her something specific. I can't tell you what kind of witchcraft she does, because I don't know what you would call it. But she does do spells, makes charms, and communicates with the dead. She also abides by the threefold law, which basically means that anything you send out comes back to you threefold. When I was around 7, I would ask her about doing spells that hurt people, etc., and she always said it would never be worth it because it would come back on you 3 times as worse. I think this is a pretty good way to look at morality no matter what your religion is. Anyway, her office is full of so many cool and weird things. We spent a lot of time together when I was younger, and she would let me touch whatever I wanted, and she would explain what it was for. I remember some of the things she had, such as graveyard dirt, a bowl of minerals that you would run your hand through to relax you, plenty of homemade dolls, string wrapped around various things she made, etc. I can always tell when my grandmom has an active spell, because it is always something very particular in an odd place. The last one I remember was a few months ago. Me and my girlfriend were having some trouble with demons, and she did some things to help out. I'll get into this a little later. Now that you guys have a little info on my grandmom, I want to talk about my mom a little bit. My mom is basically exactly like my grandmother, except she is not a witch. Out of everyone in my family, I believe my mom is the one that occurrences happen to the most. As a kid, she would force me and my brother to go to church with her every Sunday. It was always obvious that she never wanted to go either, but she still takes us. Now that I'm older, I believe that my mom did this to protect us and herself. I can only talk about the experiences she openly shared with me. My mom is the type of person to keep certain things bottled up forever if she doesn't want anyone to know something. For example, her older brother died a few years ago. He was a great uncle but was addicted to drugs and living in a homeless shelter. She only recently told me he actually overdosed and didn't die from an aneurysm like she told me. I understand not wanting to tarnish his reputation, but it pisses me off that she would keep something so intimate to our family a secret for so long. I'm not stupid though, and can usually tell when she's holding something back. The only other person I'm really going to get into detail about is my dad. My dad used to be a drug dealer before I was born. He was the youngest of 3 brothers, and his older brothers were pretty much very reckless, so he just tagged along and got into trouble. Now, I would never hear any stories from my dad about any of the things he did before I was born, but his brother loves to tell me all the crazy shit my dad used to do before he had me. Nobody is going to believe this, but I have seen a picture of my dad, my uncle, and one of their friends that I have met, standing with Pablo Escobar. I remember when I was around 11, me and my cousin were watching a documentary on Pablo. My dad was watching with us and told us that he used to know him, and the guy is pure evil. We thought he was just bullshitting, but 10 years later I see a picture of them. I really admire the fact that my dad stopped all illegal activity the moment my mom got pregnant with me. He manned up and started doing construction work with his uncle. We were pretty poor when I was a small child, but had our own house because my mom got hit by a car when she was 8 and was awarded $20,000 in a lawsuit. My parents bought the house a few months before I was born, and we lived at my grandmom's while my dad stayed at the house and fixed it up. I just wanted to try and explain the type of guy my dad is so you can get the picture. He's a straight-up Pollock, can barely spell, but he is smart as shit and can build a house in a month. My family has millions now because my dad has built so many houses and sold them. He still works every single day, even though my parents rent out houses and collect $40,000 a month in rent. Enough of that. I think I am going to start posting the paranormal things that have happened in my family. I'm not going to post everything because some of it is personal, and honestly there is too much to remember. I'm always remembering crazy shit that happened in my house as a kid that I forgot. The first paranormal thing that happened to me was the night I was taken home from the hospital. I was actually born 3 months early, and couldn't breathe on my own for about a week. My grandmother told me that the night they brought me home, my mom and grandmom were in the kitchen talking while my dad was sitting on the couch, and I was in a car seat on the floor. My grandmom said that my dad was staring at me pale white, and my car seat was rocking back and forth by itself. This freaked my dad out, obviously, but my grandmom said it was my grandpop, and there is nothing to be worried about. I obviously do not remember this, but my mom, grandmom, and dad all confirmed that this happened. The next paranormal experience that happened to me was when I was about 6 or 7. By this time, I had a younger brother and an even younger sister. I remember one morning I decided to help my mom out before she woke up by feeding my infant sister. This was no big deal. My mom let me feed her all the time. Anyway, I woke up my brother and took my sister downstairs and put her in her playpen while I went to get her some baby food. She was old enough to eat the mush that comes in the little jars. Anyway, as I went to find her some food, I remember a white Grim Reaper floating in the upper corner of my kitchen. It didn't have a scythe and its head was aimed down so you couldn't see a face in the hood. Now I think this may have been some kind of angel that was watching over us, because when I saw it I was not scared at all. I remember going into more of a protection mode and telling my brother to hold my sister while I went in the kitchen. I didn't want to freak him out. After I said that to him, I remember looking back over at the kitchen and it was gone. I wasn't scared when I saw it, but when it was gone, I got an unbelievable sense of panic and dread, and for some reason I had to get me and my siblings up to my parents' room. This is the actual first paranormal experience I remember. Around that same period when I was a kid, nothing really substantial happened to me. I do remember a water bottle started hovering for a few seconds above the coffee table. This happened for about 3 seconds, and the moment my mom came up from the basement with the laundry, it fell back on the table. I remember telling my mom about it and she just laughed and told me it's in my imagination. She dropped the basket on the couch and went to check on the stove. When she turned her back, the bottle started shaking and stopped when I started to freak out, and she looked over. She didn't see it, but she remembers how bad I was freaking out, and she told me that she believed me 100%. She just didn't want to scare me. This is pretty much the only thing that happened around the age of 6, 10 at my house that I can remember. I used to sleep over at my grandmom's house almost every weekend, and I do remember that I would hear footsteps and wake her up to tell her, but she always calmed me down and I immediately forgot about it. She is really good at being spiritually in charge, if that makes sense. Like my grandmother can get a spirit to leave just by talking to it and showing it respect. I remember she used to tell me that you just need to be understanding and firm, and ghosts will have no choice but to listen to you. I'm going to fast forward a few years later when my family started to get bigger, and my dad made the house larger. After having 2 more siblings, my dad built a 3rd floor on my house. He also built a garage with 2 stories on top of it right next to the house. It took about a year for him to complete it, so we had basically an unfinished house next to ours, and an unfinished 3rd floor on top of our house. Anyway, during that time, me and my younger brother shared a room with bunk beds. For about a month, every single night my brother would freak out and tell us that the floating strawberry was trying to get him, and he would have to sleep with my mom. Me and my mom decided that he must have been rubbing his eyes and had spots in his vision that was freaking him out. This is the only conclusion we could think of. However, during this time, my family's crucifix that is nailed above the front door fell off the wall 3 times during that month. One day when I was in school, my mom had our priest bless the house, and this all stopped. Being young, I didn't think anything weird about the priest blessing our house, especially considering I went to a Catholic school. However, now that I'm older, I can put 2 and 2 together, and I realize what exactly was going on. I actually was talking to my brother a while ago, and he brought up the floating strawberry. He told me he used to get so upset that none of us would believe him, because every single night it would fly into the room and go right for his face. Now forward a bit to when my dad finished the addition to our house. This is probably the most active the house has been. Now my parents' bedroom is a huge room on top of the new garage. Even though this was a newly constructed part of the house, that room, and my sister's room, which was above it, always gave me a bad feeling. Now that the addition to the house was done, we haven't had any paranormal activity for a good while. One day, me and about 4 of my friends from school were upstairs bullshitting around in my new bedroom, and my door slammed shut. We were all scared, but not too scared since there were 4 of us. We all grabbed weapons and huddled up silently, trying to think of what to do in case it was a robber. We were afraid to go to the door, and after about 30 seconds, my TV that was behind us turned on by itself, and we all just went full spurg charging through the house screaming. This was one of my favorite memories as a kid. Just the timing of the TV turning on was the type of thing you see in a freaky horror movie that makes you jump. After this experience, I guess the ghost or demon or whatever decided that it would slam my parents' bedroom door for about a week straight. Me and all my friends would always hang out in my house, and just randomly throughout the day we would hear my mom's bedroom door just blast shut like someone kicked it. Even if we closed the door eventually, we would hear it slam shut again. This honestly freaked me out, and it would piss me off that my mom would always say it was just the wind. I was a kid, but I was old enough to know that she didn't leave any windows open. It was basically the middle of winter while this was going on. This really bothered me growing up, because I never got any closure on whether this was a paranormal experience or not. About a year ago, my mom came clean and told me that it was definitely a ghost. She told me this after she woke up and saw an old woman standing next to her bed looking at her. That old woman that my mom saw next to her bed appeared to her about 4 times. Every time my mom freaked out and I could hear her scream at night. Now I actually believe that old woman is at my apartment now, because my girlfriend saw her in the mirror, and my family saw her behind me while I was FaceTiming them one day. I'll get into this later when I talk about my recent experiences. Anyway, one night my dad actually woke up and saw the lady staring at my mom. He honestly has balls of steel. He woke up, saw her, put the cover over my mom's face and told her that her friend is here and not to look. My mom knew what he was talking about and I could hear her freaking out. I ran down and asked them if they were okay, and my dad nonchalantly said he saw a ghost and it's no big deal. That was the end of my mom seeing the old woman by the bed. My parents have had one more paranormal experience around that time. I was sitting with them, but I didn't see anything. I only heard the talking. Anyway, one night at around 11 p.m. I believe I was sitting on the couch watching Ed, and Eddie with my parents. Next thing I know, my mom turns pale white and they are both standing up staring at something coming down the stairs behind the TV. I didn't get to see it, but I heard my mom say it's gone and told me I have to go to bed. Years later, they told me what they saw. They said that a grayish, cloudy, see-through snake-shaped apparition slithered down the steps onto the railing, then slithered right through the front door and left. Whatever it was, I do believe that it was demonic, and it was probably what used to slam the doors and move the crucifix.
Bumping with a mini story about myself. When I was younger, I always thought that my room and house were haunted. The house has been in our family for decades, and it's a very nice house with 2 stories. One of the reasons I thought my house was haunted was because whenever I woke up to use the washroom late at night, I always felt hands crawling up my back, which is also why I always wear a shirt to bed. This never stopped. Another reason was, one time when I was around 14, I woke up to my dog sitting on my stomach as if he were guarding me and watching around the room. But this was extremely weird, because whenever he came near my room, he never actually entered. He would stop dead in his tracks at the door. I woke up with the desperate need to piss and moved him aside to get up and go to the washroom, but after moving him aside and getting up, I blacked out. I woke up on the floor with him licking my face. For the next few nights I had really bad nightmares, and 3 nights after I had the worst dream I've ever had. I woke up to my regular alarm at around 6:30 and I turned it off because shit, I forgot it was a weekend. Then I nearly fell asleep again, but something made a weird sound. Then the worst feeling of dread, paranoia, and scaredness happened. After that, I woke up to sleep paralysis. Nothing weird happened during the sleep paralysis, other than something I couldn't see slamming my door. I always had it open when I went to bed. Then I actually woke up and told my family my dreams, then wrote it down. Not really sure why this happened, but it seemed kind of spooky to me at the time, so I felt like sharing.
First of all, excuse any typos. English is not my language, and I'm still shaking about the experience. This happened to me last night /x/. I'm honestly at a loss as to what happened. I include a picture of what I see outside my house door, so you guys have an idea. To give a bit of context, I live alone, but my sister crashes at my house very often. Doesn't have a schedule for it, but she appears when she wants to. This was one of those days. Also, my mother comes to visit me sometimes. She lives about 5 hours away from us, but that usually is in between months of just phone calls and check-ins. Be me. Very late at night, sleeping peacefully. My dog is sleeping in my bed because it's cold. Suddenly I feel my dog hitting me with her paws and kind of whimpering. This is common. This is her way of saying, I want to pee. Come out of my room with doggy in arms. Almost a nightly routine. As you can see in the picture, my home has 3 doors. 1 to the street, 1 iron gate, and then the wooden one. In between the street one and the house ones, there's a garage. Oh, and we don't have neighbors in front of us. Our house is a corner house. In front, there's only tall grass and dirt. Open the wooden door, half asleep. About to let my doggy out when I notice it. The street door is open. Panic. The lock is tricky. My sister has had troubles closing it before. Just get mad and think about closing it. Then I hear something. There's some rustling to my right. Doggy is getting restless in my arms. We live in a gated neighborhood, so it's really unusual for a robbery. Scared but thinking it's probably just a stray dog. Turn on the lights. There's a woman. There's a woman crouching to my right, next to our garbage can. I howl like a coward. The woman stands up. It's my mom? I swear /x/ I swear it's my mom. I'm fucking shaking thinking about it. I'm confused. Too confused to think about anything. My mind can't process seeing my mom crouching down by the garbage can. Hear steps behind me. It's my sister. She seems agitated, probably my screaming. Sees mom, has a WTF face. Mom speaks up. She starts laughing, normally not creepy or anything. She says she's sorry she scared us, saying her bus got delayed. She says more stuff. She's still talking. She doesn't stop talking /x/. I'm not thinking right. This is wrong. She's wrong. My sister is a moron. She just walks towards the door and is about to open it. I say stop. Get away from the door. She looks at me with a weird face. I don't say anything. I can't say anything. My lips won't move. My sister takes a step back and observes our mother. Mother gets closer to the door, asking us to let her in. Doggy in my arms starts flipping out, growling, whimpering. She sounds in pain, not angry. It's like painful. Sister and I take more steps back. Mom's body is all wrong. My mom looks like an average 50-plus old lady, chubby, short, etc. Mother in the door is skinny. She's wearing some kind of gym suit or something. She looks like a young woman with my mother's face. It's wrong. Sister realizes, starts to hyperventilate. Mother stops speaking and smiling. In a second, flips around and darts out of the house, out of the iron door. From our point inside, we see her. She runs straight towards the high grass. My sister is wailing behind me. I leave my dog inside. She pees. Go out to close the door. IDK if I'm brave or in shock. Just as I'm closing the door, I look outside. In between the blades of grass, I can see the face of my mother, looking at us. I had talked with my mother earlier before I went to bed. We talked about a lot of stuff, including how she couldn't come visit us for more days than she expected because of some business reason. From the moment I saw her, I knew it wasn't her. 5-hour bus ride, no planes to hear. Sister didn't know. I don't want to think about what would have happened if I wasn't here, or if I hadn't talked with Mom earlier that night. What the fuck happened /x/?
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hope I'm not too late, but OP, contact a white witch or a priest immediately. Someone has paid a witch enough money to curse your family. Was there someone in your family who might have had strong enemies? Is your dad in the police or something? Gangs often give money to witches for good luck, and some of them also pay huge sums to curse the family of their enemies. Someone had a lot of grudge against your family to cause this. This witch is partly possessed. It's impossible to transform into another person, but some evil spirits possess witches and try to transform them as well as possible. I live in the US now, but my grandparents and parents lived in Pueblo for close to 40 years, and they were once attacked by a vicious witch like this. I would advise to contact your mother immediately, to tell her to not allow anyone who looks like you inside the house. The witch is going to attack her next, and she won't be as suspicious as you were because you are a son. Mothers don't care about such small things. Call your mom immediately and ask her to find a good witch or priest there too. The witch that attacked my family was very evil, and my aunt, who was 21 back then, was possessed by evil spirits. It took months of exorcism and prayers to get rid of those demons. I will tell you the entire story if you want, but for God's sake, find some good witches or priests before one of you suffer. Stay safe. Basically, in the 1980s, my mom and her family, mom, one brother and one sister, grandpa, grandma, used to live in Pueblo. They used to have a neighbor who used to love 2 houses down from them. Seemed like a nice lady. In her early 50s, most of her hair had turned white despite being in her 50s. There were shades of black here and there. She was a widow, and one of her sons had died a few years ago, and another one was working in another state. She was generally quiet and didn't talk a lot about herself. My grandma is a nice lady and would blabber about everything and everyone, so she used to tell her about everything about my mom, uncle, and aunt, about their studies and life in general. Most of the other neighbors avoided her like the plague, though, and some also told my grandma that she was a witch, and she does blood magic rituals, but Grandma just brushed it off. Now, my grandparents were quite new to the area. They had arrived in the late 1970s, and this was happening in like early 80s. Eventually, over like 2-3 years, the old witch grew jealous of Mom's happy family. Mom had a boyfriend back then. Uncle was already 24 and was planning to get married, and my aunt was the prettiest of them of all, a 21-year-old beauty, always bubbly and happy. So apparently that's why the old witch decided to teach my grandparents a lesson by making their lives miserable. So basically weird things started happening around the house. Closed doors would be opened and slammed shut again. Kitchen plates would roll and fall out on the floor. My mom, aunt, and grandma all had evil and nasty nightmares of being burnt alive. Someone trying to smother them with a pillow or choking them really hard. The murder nightmares were quite commonly seen by my grandma and aunt. Slowly, it started showing physical signs as well. My grandpa once woke up from sleep screaming like hell. Apparently, he dreamt of some lady with dark red hair and pale, almost dead body. Like pale skin was choking him really hard while telling him to off himself. During this time period, my grandpa also fell from the roof while trying to repair something, broke his hand and ribs. My mom also would wake up with scratch marks around her neck and back area. There would be blood stains everywhere on her clothes. My aunt was the one most severely affected, however. She would have nightmares of a burnt lady sitting at a corner of her room staring at her point blank, and then slightly smiling, saying, "I am coming for you." She could see the pinkish flesh filled with pus on that woman, and it would creep her out. Then her bed would shake at like 3 in the middle of the night. She would hear whispers and feel like someone was pulling her hair. She was also once pushed while she was waiting to cross a road, and she would wake up with scratch and bite marks all over. This was like mid-1983. Aunt was depressed and quite unsure why this started happening all of a sudden. That old witch still had the audacity to come and talk to Grandma, asking about how everyone was and how my pretty aunt was doing. Grandma had already stopped talking to that shrew by then. They called priests to bless the house, but it would only last like 2 days. 2 days after the priest blessed the house, the scratches and nightmares began again. It had been like 4 months since this started happening, and by that time the nightmares were at their peak. And suddenly one day my mom found my aunt sitting alone in a dark room, her hair untied and all over her face. She was giggling and crying at the same time. Apparently Uncle was home too, but he was watching TV or listening to music, so didn't care much about it. Mom thought she was just trying to scare her, so she quickly turned on the lights. As soon as she turned back, she saw what the fuck was going on. Apparently my aunt had cut herself several places on her hands. There was blood all over the dining table, and she was still giggling, crying, singing in her own little world. My mom took the knife away from her, called for Uncle, and told him to call for help. The neighbors came, and she was taken to hospital. At the hospital, she was normal all the time. No nightmares, no strange wanting to die behavior, nothing. When asked why she tried to off herself, she said she didn't remember anything. She was there for 5 or 6 days. The police came to inquire and talk to her, and then she was eventually brought home. Everything was normal for like 2 days before she started screaming and crying at 3 in the night. She would be in this state of delirium and keep mumbling strange things. She would also say that her body was burning and she needed water. It became a routine for next 3 or 4 days, and eventually my granddad decided enough was enough and started arguing with her, telling her she should get out of his daughter. It jumped on my grandpa and could easily hit him. Now my aunt back then was like 5'1" and just not strong enough to hit Grandpa, who was 5'11" and was in the police till his retirement in 1999. My mom, uncle, and grandma tried to restrain her, but she would easily overpower them and grab my grandpa by the collar and call him nasty names. Grandpa knew a friend who was quite spiritual and decided to ask him if he could help or knew someone who could help. He suggested a lady he knew and that she was a good witch who generally helped out people with cleansing their homes and getting rid of evil spirits, either from places or people. He told Grandpa everything that would be needed, and the fact that he would have to ask a few of his strong-built friends to come as well to restrain my aunt because she could easily take like Mom, Uncle, and Grandma holding her at once. Granddad thanked him, and it was decided that the exorcism will start by next weekend. By this time, Aunt would always sit at one place, making weird sounds, laughing out of nowhere, start crying out of nowhere, and would then again go back to humming a tune or mumbling something in a deep voice. The whites of her eyes had turned red due to burst capillaries, and she hadn't showered in like a week, so she smelled. Grandma would clean her up when Grandpa was home, and it was relatively safe to approach her. At around 9 in the night, she would start begging for better and screaming that it was really hot. She smelled horrible, according to Mom, and sometimes in between her weird antics, she would look at Mom and cry and tell her to save her, to pray for her. That's something that affected Mom the most. Meanwhile, the old witch was still there, and she was confronted by Grandma as well, but the shrew argued and argued till the end, and pretended to be innocent and not know anything. Eventually, the white witch finally found time and said it'd be better if they brought her to the shrine temple she lived in. She lived in a fairly big home with a large space specifically for doing rituals and exorcisms. My granddad agreed, and he just told my aunt to get in his friend's car and drove him directly to the White Witch's house. As soon as the car came near the house, my aunt started growling like a dog and started speaking in tongues and said shit like she'd butcher each and every one. And somehow she also knew about the White Witch and was talking shit about her too. Granddad and his friends restrained my aunt and brought her inside the house. She fought all the way through. Just imagine 4 grown-ass men who were in the police their entire lives were having trouble controlling this 21-year-old 5'2" girl. It was like trying to control a lion or a beast of some kind. Then my aunt was finally taken to the main ritual area, and the White Witch did all the rituals. She also lit a flame to purify her soul and to bring out the evil entity within her. My aunt would make all kinds of noises, from inappropriate noises to screaming to talking like a little girl to spitting in the flame and on the White Witch. This whole thing lasted for some 3 hours, and then the spirit was eventually subdued. The witch then read prayers and called for all the deities she knew to bless my aunt and her soul, to keep the evil within her weak and subdued, and did a ritual to keep the spirit chained so she won't possess my aunt again. Although that ritual had weakened the evil spirit, it didn't kill it or capture it. The witch later told Grandpa that the curse done on my aunt was extremely powerful and was done with a spirit of extreme vengeance and hatred. She asked if my aunt has wronged someone. Did she steal money or cheat on someone who really trusted her? She also asked if my grandpa had done something that might cause someone to hate him. Of course, Grandpa didn't know anyone that might hate them that much. He had put criminals behind bars, but he couldn't think of anyone in particular that threatened him with black magic or voodoo or whatever. The White Witch said that she will have to do a few more rituals to find out who cursed my grandpa's family, why it was done, and so on. So my aunt was brought to the White Witch again, about a month later. My aunt was feeling slightly better now. The spirit attacks wouldn't happen all the time. In that month, she showed it like 5 or 6 times, which wasn't bad at all. The next time Grandpa brought her to the witch, Auntie acted the same by resisting and spitting and name-calling. The witch did her ritual again for about 2 hours and managed to get the information that the spirit in my aunt's body was a witch as well. She lost her own body to a house fire 37 years ago, and it killed his little kids with her. The White Witch told my grandpa that the evil spirit herself was a powerful witch and looked like a charred body with red eyes. The White Witch also said that she'd have to do a ritual to cleanse the house and protect herself before removing the spirit. The aunt was called a week later, and the White Witch used ritual to torture the evil spirit and asked her who had sent her. Why was she harming my aunt? Why did she attach to my aunt, etc.? That is when the spirit itself told the White Witch the name of the person who sent her, Old Witch, what she looked like, where she lived, major landmarks around her house, and how she attached herself to my aunt. Apparently, the Old Witch once came to talk to my mom about someone, and that's when she was allowed to enter our house. That's when she cursed each and every part of the house and left a packet of blood, paper, and meat with my aunt's and her family's name. The paper instructed the spirit to attach to my aunt and to torment everyone else in the house. The Old Witch was extremely jealous of my grandmother and her kids and wanted each and every one of them to burn and suffer like she did when she lost her son and husband. Apparently, my grandmother's happy and nice demeanor was taken as her mocking the Old Witch and her lack of happiness. Basically, she wanted to bring Grandma's family to the same level as her.
This happened last month. One of my friends, an army engineer student from Bucharest, came to me scared shitless regarding his girlfriend's grandmother. Now you have to understand, in Romania you're either a hardcore rationalist, a meme NPC, or you sprinkle salt on windowsills to keep the strigoi out. There is no in between. So while we were the first kind, I was the last. He says to me that the old hag was a known witch in her village before she moved to the capital, and the gypsies used to say she had the cat's eye, what we call the evil eye. The poor sod didn't even know about that. Apparently his girlfriend confessed to him her fears or whatever, and spilled the beans on the hag, but he got spooked only after they had a shared dream where a crone told them to leave the house. A few things he told me about her. She cursed her son, the girlfriend's dad, to never have kids or else bad things will happen. Her husband had colon cancer but survived for 14 years. He only died of a heart attack after he damned her to the devil at a family gathering for being a demoniac. She put a folded kerchief in the doorway to catch the girlfriend's mom. This is a known way to put someone under your will if you have them stay in a triangle made by you. I assume the mom doesn't know shit about magic either because the hag got banned from seeing the girlfriend, a kid at the time, only after. She marked the girlfriend with a sigil by putting a wool hat over her head with a needle speared through the top, yes, into the skin, and a cut at the base of the skull on the back. After looking into my grandmother's books, both witches, it seemed to me it was most likely the sigil of the demon Gamigan. I told the guy about how every demon has an angel that opposes it, told him it's Uia in this case, the number 2, and the psalm, as I also taught him how to make talismans. But I don't remember those right now. The marking had serious effects because that night when the mom and the girlfriend said their evening prayers, the girlfriend threw a fit, bawling her eyes out and swearing for the first time hardcore like, "Devil fuck you, witch." The The phrase sounds silly in English, I know. The family ended up going from priest to priest up the chain of command until they disenchanted her.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.